Jesus came into town riding on a donkey. Everybody knows that on Palm Sunday. The same day, everybody knows this also, that the priests and they were coming from Bethlehem with the Passover lamb. Why? Because Moses was instructed to do that in Exodus, that on the 10th day of the first month, you will take a lamb, secure it, until the 14th day on the evening when you will kill it. Very specific instructions. So Jesus came in on Sunday, the same time when they were bringing the lamb to the temple, he came to the temple, fulfilling that ritual, for want of a better word. You don't even need a calendar to do the rest. 4 days to the 14th. That's the day that you have to kill the lamb. It cannot be Wednesday and it cannot be Friday. Continuing on. Thursday, the day of Passover, is the day that Jesus was killed. So why, look at the picture there, you know, that Da Vinci or whoever drew that picture, painted that picture. Why is it that everybody relates to the Last Supper as the Passover meal? If that were true, then Jesus ate the Passover before he became the Passover. Would that make any sense? He would have broken his own rules. He said, on the evening of the 14th day, you are to kill the lamb and then eat it on the 15th, the night, just as they did in Egypt, is what you will do forever and ever. So how come Jesus now come and eat the Passover the day before? Would that make sense? No, it doesn't. There are many other clues, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not going to do that study now, but I'll just throw in a couple for your thinking and your thought process. Jesus said, whoever dips sup with me, the bread in the sup with me, is the one who will betray me. Go again and read the rules and instructions for Passover in Exodus. No boiling, no stew, no soup. Only roast meat with dry, unleavened bread. No stew is allowed at that dinner, at that Passover dinner. None. So Jesus will break the rules again and have sup for him and Judas to dip in? No, he would not. Not if it was the Passover meal. John is the only writer who makes it very clear that it's not the Passover meal. The other translations of Matthew, Mark, Luke make it sound like if they had Passover, but it was not the Passover meal. What it was is they were eating supper on the Passover. Let me clear that up for you because I know that just sounded funny. They were having supper on the Passover. All your Sabbaths will start on the evening, is what Jesus said in Leviticus. So Wednesday evening, which is now Thursday night, if you will, is the beginning of Passover. The day starts on Thursday evening. It's the beginning of Passover. They had supper on Passover, not the Passover meal. They had supper on Passover. So that's here. Oops, come on. Why are you not moving? Right? I'm here, I'm joining in the supper. Yeah, man, nice food. No lamb. Why? How could Jesus instruct his disciples to kill a lamb and bring it let we eat? When the only place you could kill the Passover lamb, instructions from God to Moses, is in the temple on the day at the prescribed time, in the evening, and then you shall eat it on the following night. All these are very clear instructions regarding Passover. And if Jesus had had the Passover meal on Wednesday evening, he would have broken every single one. And he didn't come here to break no rules. He came to fulfill them. So let's move on from that nonsense story that people preach. Okay? Wednesday night was, what will begin, the day begins was Passover. It started then. But the lamb is not killed until the following evening, which brings us to here, right? So during that, after that meal, I rushed ahead too much. Let's go back here. Wednesday evening, into Thursday night. I should have put Wednesday evening. I will change my chart a little bit. Wednesday evening into Thursday night. Jesus eats supper with his disciples. It is Passover, but not the Passover meal. Once the night kicked in, Wednesday night there, that the day started, the 14th of the first month started. He had supper, and then he goes out to the Garden of Gethsemane. And guess what? Just read it, guys, in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This was a pattern he was doing since the first day he arrived. Now, everybody has to arrive in Jerusalem 3 times a year for these feasts. It said Jesus arrived there since 6 days before the Passover. He come early. But every night, he would go out to the Mount of Olives. So guess what? Judas knew exactly where Jesus was going every single night. That's why he knew exactly where to bring the soldiers to betray him, because he made a pattern of it. He was in the temple all day, and then he went to the Mount of Olives in the evening. And he was doing that nightly, before the night of his crucifixion, or his betrayal, sorry. Good. So they finish it and they go same place as they was going all week. Judas and his gang comes, takes him, and whole night, his trials and tribulations, okay? Straight down to Thursday morning, when in the 3rd hour, they crucified him. In our way of calculating time, an hour is 60 minutes. Newsflash, that's not how time was calculated in Jesus' day. An hour wasn't necessarily what we call an hour. It was a division of time. And when God said that Jesus said there's 12 hours in a day, it simply meant there was 12 divisions of time in daylight, and there was 12 divisions of time in the nighttime of darkness. Now, depending on where you are on the planet, it may or may not make a difference, because the days are so similar every single day. It's about the same amount of hours of daylight. But if you are living in a place where it has 4 seasons, you would very well know that in winter, the days get very short, and in summer, they get very long. So how do you deal with that in Jesus' time, not our time? It was still 12 hours in a day. So example, if the sun goes down at 3 o'clock in the winter time, Jesus would say, don't you know there are 12 hours in a day? And in the summer, sun going down 11 o'clock in the night, or what time? Jesus would say, don't you know there are 12 hours in a day? How does this make sense? Because they just divided the daylight in 12. So some days you would have 80 minutes being an hour, and some days you'll have 40 minutes being an hour. By the end of the day, it's just 12 divisions. This is a very important thing for us to understand, and it brings meaning to what Jesus was saying in the Bible. It's called a helical hour. And I have a little thing on it in the next slide, so we look at it. All right? What's important is that there's always 12 divisions. It doesn't matter how long or how short the daylight is, divide it in 12 and you get 12 hours in a day, or 12 divisions in a day. Because when we hear hour, we hit immediately 60 minutes. No, it's not 60 minutes. 12 divisions in a day. So Jesus was crucified on the third division. He was hung on the tree on the third division, which is the exact time that the morning sacrifice was being slaughtered in the temple. Then, in the ninth division, he gave up the ghost. So let's not skip over the sixth division, which is noon, the middle place when pitch black. Pitch black. Okay? Then let's jump to the ninth division. He gave up. He said, "Into thy I commit myself, Father," and that's it. Okay? 6 divisions he was on the cross, not necessarily 6 hours, not necessarily 3 p.m. our time. It's whatever time of the year that was, the day was longer or shorter, it was 6 divisions on the cross. And I hope that is clear for everybody. Now, Thursday is called the preparation day. Adventists think that Friday is preparation day. You ask a Jew if they just call Friday a preparation day, and they'll watch us scree-eyed because they don't call Friday no preparation day. The only day they call a preparation day is the day before Passover. And the reason for that is because they had to get all the leaven out of their dwellings. You don't have time to read all them texts in Exodus and Numbers and Deuteronomy, but God made it clear. I don't even want it in the environment. It mustn't even be in the land. It must have no leaven. So they had to get rid of that. They had up to the end of the 14th to do so. Additionally, they had to prepare the lamb for sacrifice on the evening. So the day of Passover, which is the 14th, that you are going to prepare the lamb in the evening or cook it, you'll kill it and cook it, is called the preparation day. We move on. Jesus is killed. He spends Thursday night in the tomb. Why? Because Nicodemus and this guy was kind enough, Joseph of Arimathea was kind enough to take his body down from the cross and put it in Joseph's tomb and seal it. No matter if an hour was 60 minutes, 72 minutes, 90 minutes, or whatever, it would have taken time from Jesus's death on the 9th hour. You have 3 more divisions to go ask Pilate if they could get the body. First thing you had to do is make sure he was dead. Then go ask Pilate if he could get the body. Then come back with the body. For the body. Then gingerly take it down off the cross. They wouldn't just pelt him down. They would, treat the body with respect, take him down off the cross. Then they would have to roll him up in all the spices that Joseph and Nicodemus brought and put him in the tomb. Guess what? By the time they get him in the tomb, they just nicked it in time. And that's just common sense. You had to carry the body, you had to ask for permission, everything, add it up. You have 3 divisions of time to do that. So he's in the tomb, smack dab as the sun is setting. He spends his first night, Thursday night, in there. Next day, Friday, is the high Sabbath, which actually starts from the same time he was put in the tomb. It's called the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and the first day is a Sabbath. So whole day from the evening to the evening, as we read, is the Sabbath. Jesus is asleep. One night, one day. Friday evening is the real Sabbath, or the 7th-day Sabbath. He spends that sleeping in the tomb, keeping the Sabbath. So he kept one Sabbath, he keeps the next Sabbath. Sabbath day, he stays in the tomb, he's keeping Sabbath. Jesus is not breaking anything, even in death. Saturday night, 3rd night, he is still in the tomb because he says he'll be there for 3 days and 3 nights. Look at this, night 1, night 2, night 3. 3 nights. And then we come to Sunday morning. He said, I will rise in 3 days, not 4 days, in 3 days. Sunday started from Saturday night. From the time the sun went down Saturday evening, Sunday started. Jesus could have risen any time within that time frame, and he is on point with the miracle of Jonah, rising in 3 days. The other way he says it, which makes no difference, is, and I will rise on the 3rd day. The 3rd day starts any time from Saturday night. Once the sun went down, the 3rd day started. So either which way you look at it, in 3 days or on the 3rd day, Jesus would have risen on the correct day, which is sometime in the early hours of Sunday morning, and correctly met the prophecy of Jonah, which is to be in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights. Any questions here before I flip the script?
So it's basically because I think the issue of it is that people thought the day started first, you know what I mean?
Night always starts first. And he started his death in the correct order, right there Thursday night.
Yeah, but that was, what I had in my head, that, it's 3, because that's how it starts off, and that's why I was taught 3 days, 3 nights, but it's actually 3 nights and 3 days. That's why I could get a bit more accurate.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's good. Thanks for the visual.
Exactly. It stands to reason, because when we look at Genesis, which one came first? As Daniel highlighted just now, it's night is always first. So when Jesus went into the grave and came to die for us, he did it in the same order he was operating in Genesis. Night first. I could screenshot the chart. It needs a little French-ing, but I can't take it off now. The miracle of Jonah must have been fulfilled to a T, or else it wouldn't have been a miracle, or else all the apostles wouldn't be able to run with it and say, this is the miracle that we were promised. Nobody would have been saved or wanted to be saved, because if it was fudged, then what's the point? But of course it wasn't fudged. Jesus did exactly what he said he will do, as it was done to Jonah. Let's look at a couple more examples, and then we move to the real point for the day. Hosea 6, 1 to 2 says, and verse 11, come, let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. After 2 days, he will revive us. In the 3rd day, he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. Verse 11 says, also, O Judah, he had set an harvest for thee, when I returned the captivity of my people. This is Hosea, and he takes on what Hosea is alluding to here in this prophecy. Here it is, guys. A day for God is as 1,000 years. And 1,000 years, 1 day. Psalms 90, 2 Peter 3, Barnabas 13. And I have one new one for you guys, Jubilees. Now, I say new, it's been there all the time. It's just that we didn't use it in our study before. All right, we come into it just now. But let's put a little more spin on that. When God told Adam, in the day that you eat, you will surely die. Was that before or after sin?
Oh.
Right. So, was Adam on God's time or on our finite time when he was told that?
God's time.
He was on God's time. There was no death at that point in time. There was no what they call it? No decaying of the flesh or anything like that. God was speaking to Adam in his language, on his terms. And Adam was on the exact same page. It says, for God, a day for us is like 1,000 years, but it's only a day for God. 1,000 years, sorry, is like a day for God. With God, 1,000 years is a day, and a day is 1,000 years, right? But when he was speaking to Adam, it didn't have no 1,000 years thing involved there. It was just a day. It was the same day. And he said, Adam, if you eat of that tree, you will die in the same day. But let's add some sugar to this. God already knew that Adam was going to sin. He had already put things in place for Jesus to come, and this was done from the foundation of the world. Everything was put in place. But the only how Jesus could come is through the seed of the woman. So if Adam and Eve died in the natural hour thinking day, then the plan of salvation would have fallen on clips, because no seed would have come for Jesus to come. But God was not speaking after, he was speaking before. And he said, Adam, in the day that you eat, you will surely die. Just a quick refresher, mostly for Easter Sunday. Everybody else would kind of know it. Genesis chapter 5, verse 1, it says, this is the book of the generations of Adam in the day that God created him, or created man. In the day. Generations in the day? Yes, generations in the day. In the likeness of God made he him. The same day that Adam was born, he died. No spiritual, that he died spiritually and all that nonsense. Just what God said is what happened. We just need to read the Bible carefully. A day with God is as 1,000 years. So when he told Adam, you will not outlive a day, then it is obvious that Adam had to die within 1,000 years. And he did. And so did Methuselah, who lived 969, the longest ever, but he still died within the day. Now, I'm going to rush down to Jubilees, just because it ties in here so nicely. So I'm not going to wait to get it. Book of Jubilees, chapter 4, 29 and 30. Eves, read from please.
And at the close of the 90th Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 6th year, 90th year thereof, Adam died, and all his sons buried him in the land of his creation. And he was the first to be buried in the earth. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years. For 1,000 years are as one day in the testimony of the heavens. And therefore was it written concerning the tree of knowledge, on the day that ye eat thereof, ye shall die. For this reason, he did not complete the years of this day, for he died during it. Okay, that's,
Yep.
yep.
Confirmation upon confirmation. This is a new one that I haven't used before. This is in the book of Jubilees, right? Adam lived 930 years, 70 less a day, fulfilling God's statement that in the day that you eat, you will surely die. Christians try to apologize for God's mistake and try to say, well, he did die spiritually, you know, but he didn't really mean physically, and okay, he died in the day.
He started to die.
No, that is the Christian thing.
He didn't start to die?
No, he died. When you die, you die. You don't start to die. The day that you die, you die. You don't start to die. Of course, he started to decay and started to age, and he started to all the rest of it. But the day he died is the day he died.
He started to decay. He started to deteriorate.
Yes, deteriorate, but not start to die. The death is one day. Okay, guys?
Listen to me. I mean, they say don't laugh about it. They take the cry. But I want you to don't take the cry, don't laugh. I stood on a pulpit, right? I preached out the place. And Adam started to die and was commended after for a good sermon by ministers.
Trust me, Sam, if I had heard the sermon, I would have commended you too. But time brings knowledge, and knowledge is power, you know what I mean? I'm sure that's a good sermon this Sam, boy. Because when in ignorance, you know what I mean?
I tell you. I could really have to, God understand, you know, that's what I know, and I tell them the truth.
Yep, that is what you knew. But now we know better. God didn't make a mistake, guys. And the reason for this, the importance of this is for us to understand how God is going to bring all of this to a close, okay? It's coming to a close, guys.
Genesis 5. No, is Genesis 5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that. That Congress.
And the King James got it right for once. They put day singular.
Yeah.
This is the generations of Adam in the day that God created him. And you know, when you check it from Adam to Noah, which is the 10 generations in Genesis chapter 5, you get 960 years, the day. What it is you're looking at all the begats, right? And so it's not counting up to when Noah died. It was up to when Noah was born. So it said, this is the generations of Adam in the first day. So it's not up to when Noah died. It's up to when he was born.
Okay.
Not up to when Methuselah died, but up to when he was born. And so when you read Genesis chapter 5, you get the 10 generations, and all of them fall inside of 960 years when you add up all their begats. And he was 130 and he begat. And nowadays you could just Google it and get a whole list for it. You don't need to do the math if you don't want. All right. So the day for 1,000 years is even clearer with jubilees. I mean, he spares no expense to explain this thing.
Oh, that Jubilee what?
Jubilees 4, 29 to 30.
Okay.
Well, let's see how important that Jubilees text is, sorry. Yes? Evis, you read it. Does it make sense?
David, yes, I see it. It's plain.
Good. Praise the Lord. Right? So Hosea was saying, and this is where the explanation comes in now. Hosea, oh yeah, there it is. Hosea 6, 1, 2 is a prophecy. Let's read it again. Come and let us return unto the Lord, that is the children of Israel. For he had torn and he will heal. He had smitten, but he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us. In the 3rd day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. This is not speaking about Jesus. This is speaking about the children of Israel. It is not referring to 2 days as in our thinking. It is God's 2 days. How many days in each age? Anybody? There are
40?
3 ages.
Oh, no.
3 ages. Remember, Rabbi Elias told us 2,000 before the law,
2 days.
2,000 with the law, which is the Israelite age, and 2,000 after the law, which is the age we live in. There are 3 ages for this world. The age that Hosea is referring to is the Israelite age. They have 2 days allotted to them, 2,000 years. After the 2,000 years, or after 2 days, he will revive us. When is he going to raise them up? After the 6,000th year?
The 2nd day.
No, read it again.
The 2nd age, the 2nd 2000.
No, read it again. Read it. Read what in blue.
Oh,
Right,
the
right,
3rd day, the 3rd day.
The
3rd day,
The 3rd.
right?
After the 2 days.
2 days. 2 days they had for the tearing down and the binding back up. Jesus came to bind them up. He said, I've come to preach liberty and to bind and to heal the sick and blah, 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 blah. And after that, he would resurrect us. He would raise us up to live in his sight. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Revelation. The 144,000, they are resurrected. And wherever the Lamb is, there they are also. Also, O Judah, he had set an harvest for thee. When I returned the captivity of my people. When did Jesus come? I know it's a kind of weird question, so I'm going to answer it because I'm not asking it properly. Remember what Jesus read in his first outing in the synagogue? He picked up the book of Acts, and what did he say?
This day,
sorry, Isaiah.
Is being fulfilled.
Right? He said all these things, preach liberty to the incarcerated and something to the blind and all those things. And then he closed the scroll and said, ladies and gentlemen, today, this text is fulfilled in your hearing. And everybody was like, what? But what was Jesus saying? If we read the text carefully, you will see that it is a Jubilee text. Every 50th year, the 49 years of seven groups of 7 years, there was a Jubilee. And on that Jubilee, you were to release all the prisoners release all the slaves, free all debts, whatever debts there were. If you owe me something, it's canceled, etc., 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 etc. Jesus came and read that and then said, this is being fulfilled. So obviously it was a Jubilee year that he started his ministry. And here's what Hosea says. Also, O Judah, he had set an harvest for thee when I returned the captivity of my people. First, he had to free them. Return the captivity means to give them freedom. That's what he came to do. That's what he read. And he said it's been fulfilled. Like clockwork, Jesus had a harvest, i.e. a resurrection, just as he told his disciples he would in that generation at the end of the age. So it means, according to Hosea, in the third day, so it means the age end today, he had the resurrection tomorrow. According to Hosea, because Jesus said, all these things will happen in this generation, the end of the age, the destruction of the temple, and my coming. And that is in harmony with Hosea chapter 6. Luke 10:35. This will, if we didn't see it yet, this will help to clear it up. This is Jesus talking. And on the morrow, this is the parable of the Good Samaritan, okay? On the morrow when he departed, he took out 2 pence, or 2 denarii, depending on which Bible you're reading, and gave them to the host and said unto him, take care of him, and whatsoever thou spendest more, when I, Jesus is the Good Samaritan, when I come again, I will repay thee. Notice he paid him 2 pennies.
Up ahead.
Right? And he said, when I come back, if I owe anything else, I'll pay it. But it's 2 pennies. Now, what does 2 pennies, refer to? Look at this, really find that. And when he had agreed, this is the parable he was talking about, the laborers that went out several times a day. Watch how much a day wages was. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. So when we put here a little, there a little together, it will all come together. The penny is a day's salary. Jesus paid the innkeeper 2 pennies. What did Hosea say? When he bind us up, after we have been battered and torn, are you seeing the parable in Hosea now?
Yeah.
He
bold,
will...
big.
Huh?
Seen it big and bold.
Yeah. He will bind us up. He will heal us. And after 2 days, he will come and harvest us. Jesus, when he came, this is Hosea, the prophecies in Hosea. When Jesus comes, he gives it to us in 2 places. 1, how much is a day's wages? A penny. 2, he gave the innkeeper 2 pennies and say, I'm coming back for him after that. Round of applause for the Lord, how he does put it together. And I don't mean for a little applaud me. Eh? Right. Questions? Comments?
I like, oh Lord, we are sing and talk about how we do operate in mysterious ways. But here, it's a case of who have ears to hear, let them hear. You have to read and slow under inspiration to understand. Look how many little pieces that jump up into. All to point an event that is to come with him.
Yes. And the parable is so in sync. The man get beat up. The man get beat up real bad. He was left for dead. The Good Samaritan, who is Jesus, it said, therefore he had torn and he will now heal us. He had smitten, but now he'll bind us up. The Good Samaritan is Jesus. He's the one come to bind them up. He will revive us. And after 2 days, the 3rd day, he'll raise us up in his sight. Not just raise them up, in his sight. And they are there all now, folks. Read it and weep. Jesus didn't make a mistake. He didn't stutter. He didn't stammer when he said, before this generation pass, I will come back for you all. He didn't stutter when he said, some of you will not taste death before you see me coming in my kingdom. The angels didn't stutter when they said, ye men and brethren, why are you looking up here so sad? The same Jesus that you see going will come back in like manner. They didn't stutter. There's another one I'm trying to remember right now, but that's stuttering. We Christians have to accept the word of God for what it says. Right? Here's the article on the timing, and this is critical for us to understand for us, okay? The hour has a special meaning. This is from chabak.org, which is a big Jewish website. In Jewish law, the third hour of the day doesn't mean 3 a.m. or 3 60-minute hours after sunrise. Rather, an hour in halakha is calculated by taking the total time of daylight of a particular day from the sunrise until sunset, and dividing it into 12 equal parts. A halalic hour is thus known as a shahara zamanit, or a proportional hour, and varies by the season and even by the day. So from day to day, the length of the hours will change. For example, on a day when the sun rises at 5 a.m. and sets at 7:30 p.m., one shahazat zamanit, or proportional hour, will be 72.5 minutes long. The third hour of the day will come to a close. So putting it simply, what they're saying is that in Jewish reckoning, a day is not like our reckoning now, where 60 minutes, 1 hour, blah, blah, blah. They have a proportional hour. No matter how long or short the day is, it divides into 12, and then you get the length of time per hour. Is that clear?
Roger.
So let's just say the day that Joshua asked for the sun to stay up so he could have finished the battle. That's the longest day on record. But it wasn't 2 days. It was still a day with same 12 hours. The divisions was just longer. What about the day when Hezekiah asked for the sun to go backwards? Again, it would have been a longer day, because if we start off at 10 o'clock and then it went backwards back to 7 o'clock and start again, the day would have been like 3 hours longer. But did it have 15 hours? No, same 12 hours, they just would have put longer divisions. So that's how time is calculated based on God's calendar, not ours. Keep it in mind as we are looking to understand what sign he has left for us to understand his coming, his soon coming. Don't use the Gregorian calendar whatsoever. Rabbi Elias, I love Rabbi Elias, I've read this many times, but we read it again, who lived 200 years before Christ, wrote, the world endures 6,000 years. 2,000 years before the law, 2,000 under the law, and 2,000 under Messiah. The harvest has taken place, and those that were harvested are with the Messiah right now. We are living in the final 2,000 years of Earth's history. The Christian scholar Latanius, who lived in AD 300, held a similar view. In the 7th volume of his book of Divine Institutions, he wrote the following: because all the works of God were finished in 6 days, it is necessary that the world should remain in the state 6 ages. That is obviously he either has a typo here or he doesn't understand that each age is 2,000 years and not 1,000 years. So I've put a cross in it, but we understand. So it must remain in a state for 3 ages, that is 6,000 years. Because having finished the works, he rested on the 7th day and blessed it. It is necessary that at the end of the 6,000th year, all unrighteousness should be abolished out of the earth, and justice should reign for 1,000 years. This, why I put discuss there is because I just want to get a few views. This is a Roman Catholic priest who wrote the book, The Divine Institutions, in AD 300 people. And he understood this thing better than most in 2021. So somewhere along the line between AD 300 and now, it got distorted. Well, first they start with the world is billions and billions of years old. So once that came on the scene, well, of course, it's really in a mess. Nobody could understand the prophecies anymore if you're going with the world is billions and billions of years. But even for Christians who don't believe in the billions and billions of years nonsense, have missed this great important point. And here it is, a Roman Catholic priest wrote it. He made a little mistake with the 6 ages, but that's a typo. It's no big deal. What about this part in the end where he says, justice shall reign for 1,000 years? Let's discuss that. He's not quite wrong in his thinking, because he's saying, 6 days, and then the one more 1,000 is the 7th day. But there's an important fine print that we miss in Genesis. Did you all notice that every day for 6 days, Jesus said, or God said, or Jesus, because Jesus who was creating the world, the evening and the morning were the first day, evening and morning, second day, etc., etc. When he reached the 7th day, check it again if you think a line. Did he say the evening and the morning?
No, it had no closing.
No closing. He never said the evening and morning or the 7th day. So the 7th day is perpetual rest, guys. Mm-hmm. Perpetual rest. And so why the good archbishop or priest, whoever he was, says there'll be his reign for 1,000 years, it stands to reason it will be the 7th day. But that 1,000 years is like the same way how the Jews look at, and God who gave them that, the halakal time, that day would be the divisions longer than eternity. It's just one big long day. We can't understand that with the 60 minutes make an hour and hour make a day. But we could understand it if we look at it from the Jewish perspective. The 7th day will be just one long day, not necessarily 1,000 years, because we'll be living in eternity. So what 1,000 you're talking about? Make sense?
All the time.
All right, so we read that. Let's go back to, this is Epistle of Barnabas, just for a reminder. Furthermore, it is written concerning the Epistle of Barnabas, chapter 13, verses 1 to 6. Furthermore, it is, and Barnabas is Paul's riding partner. Right, let's go. Furthermore, it is written concerning the Sabbath in the 10 Commandments, which God spake on Mount Sinai to Moses, face to face, sanctify the Sabbath of the Lord with pure hands and with a clean heart. And elsewhere he said, if the children shall keep my Sabbaths, then shall I put my mercy upon them. And even in the beginning of creation, he makes mention of the Sabbath. And God made in 6 days the works of his hands, and he finished them on the 7th day. And he rested on the 7th day and sanctified it, Consider, my children, what this signifies. He finished them in 6 days. The meaning of it is this, that in 6,000 years, the Lord God will bring all things to an end. With him, for with him, 1 day is 1,000 years, as himself testified, saying, behold, this day shall be as 1,000 years. Therefore, children, in the 6 days, that is, in the 6,000 years, shall all things be accomplished. And what is it that he saith? And he rested on the 7th day. He meaneth this, that when his son shall come and abolish the season of the wicked one, and judge the ungodly, and shall change the sun and moon and stars, then he shall gloriously rest in the 7th day, perpetually. We have witness after witness saying the same thing that the Bible already said. And if we miss this one, which is for us, the one in Hosea was fulfilled. He extracted out of the 6 days, 2 days, the second age, and said at the end of that, I'm going to have a harvest, which he confirmed when he spoke to his apostles in Matthew 24. So guys, what about this is hard for us to get? I think the principle is clear. The date is not as clear. When I say the date, meaning to tie down to, it's 2nd of this or the 3rd of that, that's not as clear. But the principle, I think we can all agree, is sound. God is coming right smack dab at the end of the 6th day. Agreed?
Amen.
David, when you was reading that last statement there, it dawned on me that how some people could come up with the argument of the 6,000 years of the creation, because it's referred to that 1 day as 1,000, right?
Right.
And we see from that perspective now that the age, the 2,000 is in comparison with creation 7-day week.
Yes.
But we know we have people out there have that argument. But I mean, when I look at it, we see specifically where the scripture said evening and the morning when we're talking about creation.
Correct.
Specified is a day because we have the evening and morning situation with that. But you do hear people say that it took how many 1,000 years? It's 6,000 years to create. So as you're reading that, I just remember that argument that people come up with too.
Yeah. And again, they argue that on no legs to stand on because the scripture is too clear, right? A day, evening and morning is from sunset to sunset. That is 1 day, and we still have that in existence to this day. To this day, we still, every morning, and evening makes a day, roughly 24 hours, but it's still, as I say that there, I get our next Zippy to share. We have to share this one. We have to share this one. But yes, the world was created in 6 natural days, not 1,000 years. Then okay, let's wake up. Let's do the second day. Okay, guys, are we ready to do the second day? The next 1,000 years? No. 6 days, God created this heaven and this earth. 1 week, normal. Right, those who are arguing those points are making a sense. But the other one that, since we're dealing with the divisions of time and so on, first to get it right, I'm sure that you have heard, Evis, and most everybody here would have heard that the divisions of time given in the prophecies, i.e. in Daniel and Revelation, about 1,260 days, which is 42 months, which is 3.5 years. I'm sure we'd have all heard that that's only used, a 360-year cycle is only used when we are referring to
Prophecy.
prophecy.
Prophecy, yeah.
Okay. Guess what?
Day for year in prophecy.
Yeah, well, then there's add the day for year to that. There's added to that after. So each day, there's make it a year, which is unbiblical. But let's deal first with the 360 division. I want to table for your consideration that mankind has gotten this 364.25 years wrong. I am no scientist. Don't try to be one. I'm not planning to be one. I am going straight on the word of God to prove a point. So God said 1,260 days in a year. So in 3.5 years, which means that each year would have been 360 days.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Man says no. Now you could see a problem with this right away, because God is counting from Adam and Eve 6,000 years, and his clock in heaven, which needs no oiling, no greasing, and no adjusting, is counting down clocks. We down here, yeah, this thing making sense. Let me count up how much years, boy. We using 365 or 364.25, whatever. Clocks. The two clocks going so further and further away from each other, because our time moving at a different speed to ours. You see where that problem comes in? If indeed God's year, i.e. this earth's year, is only 360 days and not let's get the proof of that, because I know everybody waiting. Come, David, you're talking nonsense now, man. Let's go to Genesis chapter 8. Genesis chapter 8. It says here in verse 4, and the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon Mount Arak. All right. And the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month. Now, how does this ratify? Firstly, we need to go back to the chapter before, chapter 7. So remember, what day did the ark rest? It was on the 17th of the 7th month.
17th of the 7th month.
And it was after 150 days. Okay, so we're going back to chapter 7, verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up and the windows of heaven opened. 17th of the 2nd month, all the fountains of the heaven, which is the water above the stars, came back down to the earth and flooded it out. On the 17th of the 7th month, it rested. And he says that was 150 days after. How many months is that?
5 months.
5 months, right? Third, so you have the 2nd month, 3rd month, 4th month, 5th month, 6th month, 7th month. And he says those 5 months were 150 days. That's 30 60, 90, 120, 150. If you have a month with 29 days in it and a month with 30 days in it, you will never get an exact 150 days for 5 months. How are maths going there?
Good.
Was this a prophecy?
No.
No, this is an event.
An event.
Okay, let's make it even clearer. I'm going to swing to the NLT version of the Bible. New Living Translation. Same verse, verse 3 and 4. So the flood waters gradually receded from the earth, and after 150 days, exactly 5 months from the time the flood began, the boat came to rest on Mount Arawak. See what they do there? They make life easy. I didn't even have to go back to the verse, to the chapter before to get it. They do the calculation for you. Guys, this is not a prophecy. This is God telling Moses the account of the flood. God don't make no mistake. 5 months is exactly 150 days in harmony with the timings that he's given in Daniel and Revelation, where he's using 360 days to calculate a year. All the months being 30. Before now, when I say now, the Jews now say that the divisions of the months, some is 29 and some is 30. You know, before Babylon, we did this study last week, before they went into Babylon, it never had that. There was no calculating of months. It was strictly when you see the sliver of the new moon. That was the month.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody then said some months have 29 and some have 30. They wasn't even looking at that. They were just waiting to see the new moon every month and start the month. But since man get bright now, they went into Babylon and they got bright. They say we could predict ahead, man. And every time they do it, they just have to come back and take out some days and all kind of thing to fix it, because your predictions could never be spot on, especially if you say that the moon takes 29 and a half days to go around the earth, and so therefore you put in some as 29 and some as 30. Twist this text anyhow you want, anybody in this class. Twist it you all are better at maths than I am. Twist it any which way you can and see if you put even 1 month with 29 in it, if you'll get exactly 150 days, be in 5 months. It have no 31-day months in Judaism, so don't try to fudge and make 131 and 129.
I'm not going to say to add a data.
Nope, they have none. They only have 29 and 30, the months of on the Jewish calendar. But I'm saying now, without any yampy in mind, that the Jewish calendar wrong, the Gregorian calendar wrong, and God's calendar is right. According to this account in Genesis, 5 months was exactly 150 days, which means that when he says 1260 days in Revelation and in Daniel and all of them, and 42 months is 1260 days. Now, where's the danger in this, guys? The danger is that we are now learning that in 6,000 years, God is going to return. But guess what? We're using all the 364 and a quarter days to add up all the years, and we try and we're using all those calendars. The Jewish one say right now we are 3,578 is 2022 and so on and so on. We know we had to add 165 to that. Sorry if I'm confusing anybody. I'm not trying to. Okay. My point simply is this: that all these variations of calendars and time that we are using are not God's.